Since we have a lot going on next week, I still have 2 grammar points to cover with you guys. I thought I would go ahead and make a video that shows you what your final is going to look like. The final we will be taking in the class. You can see that I'm still out in my language labs. I did this as opposed to pulling up a printed version of it because I wanted you to see the listening, and I couldn't play the listening on a printed version. So anyway, the first section is listening. It says, La familia de Catalina. A new student, Catalina, has just moved into the residence hall. Listen to this description of her and her family and decide whether each statement is cierto or falso. If the information is not given, select no se menciona. So I will play this. All right, I think you can't. For some reason, it's not going to let me play. So
Catalina tiene una familia pequeña.
Okay, so you will hear this whole paragraph about Catalina and her family, and then you're going to look at the following, I think there's 8 questions, and decide whether the statements below are true or false based upon what you hear. I will play this in the classroom, but I will play it more than once, maybe 2-3 times, and then you guys will make your selections. The next section is La Familia de Pablo. Pablo was asked to write some sentences describing his family tree, but he can't remember all of the vocabulary words. Help him complete the following sentences based on his family tree. So you'll see a picture of his family, and down below you'll have some sentences, and you'll use that picture to fill in the familial relationship. So here you would put like mother, father, etc. And most of the time an article has been given, so you don't. No, for all of these, you do not need to put an article. You don't need to write a la. You don't need to write a me. You just need to write the familial relationship. But you do want to make sure that if it's plural, like if it's talking about more than one person, that you use the correct form. So for example here, Lola, Jorge, y Elena son, and you would want to put a plural word there. So they are... this is all in relationship to the family of Pablo. So Lola, Jorge, y Elena, they're all hermanos. So you would want to make sure you don't just put hermano or hermana, you actually put hermanos in there. This is also dealing with the family vocabulary. It says definiciones. Your study partner likes to make everything difficult. He has come up with some tricky questions to see if you know the family vocabulary. Answer each question in a complete sentence in Spanish. So it says, ¿Quién es la madre de tu madre? So who's the mother of your mother? You would say the mother of my mother is my grandma. Or you could simply say es mi abuela. So like ¿Quién es la madre de tu madre? Es mi abuela. So you're going to be going through and making complete sentences telling, answering the question above with the familial relationship. Okay? Un día de mi vida en la universidad. Discover what the student does during a typical day by filling in the blanks with the logical word from the word bank. This is vocabulary again. However, it's not family vocabulary. It's using all of those verbs. We had a bunch of stem changing verbs in this chapter. They are conjugated for you. You do not need to change them. You just read the sentence and plug in the word that would best, or the verb that would best complete the sentence. Here's where you start conjugating. Como cambian. Can you remember how all of the stem changing verbs change? You need to read each sentence, decide which of the 2 verbs you're given would best complete the sentence, then you conjugate it, and all of these are stem changers. That means in their stem, the part before their ER, IR, or AR, that's their stem. If you're conjugating for any subject pronoun other than nosotros and vosotros, you're going to make a spelling change in your stem. You're going to make either an E to I spelling change, an E to IE spelling change, or an O to UE spelling change. Okay, then we'll go to the next page and go back to the top. You're still doing what we just talked about, como cambian. Can you remember how the stem changing verbs change? You're doing the same thing I talked about a minute ago up through 37. Sabes identificar el objeto directo. This is something that we're going to go over in class next week, hence why I'm making the video now. Your roommate needs to write a paper for her composition class and finds that her writing is very repetitive. Show her how to identify the direct objects in a sentence so she can replace them with pronouns. So for each sentence below, choose the word that is the direct object. So you will just read the sentence and decide which of these pieces in the sentence is your direct object. And I will show you how to do that in class next week, or you can watch my video on direct object pronouns in next week's block. This again, the next section deals with the direct object. This time you're not just identifying it, you're replacing your direct object with a direct object pronoun. So you're changing it from Jorge tiene la mochila de Pilar to Jorge has it. You're changing book bag from book bag to it. And that's what you're doing throughout. And again, that's something we're going to go over in class next week. So you can wait till next week's class, or you can look at next week's block on our Moodle site and watch my video on direct object pronouns. Then you've got a reading comprehension section. La familia de José Muñoz, you're planning to study abroad at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Honduras and need to choose a host family. To help you with your choice, the Office of International Studies has prepared a short description of the available families. Read the description of this family and then decide if the statements that follow are cierto or falso. If the information is not given, select no se menciona. So you would read this paragraph about José Muñoz, and then you would answer the questions below. You answer true, false. If you can find the information above, if it's not mentioned, you pick no se menciona. Okay. And the final page, here's the personal This is something that we're going to go over next week as well. Again, you can either wait till next week's class, or you can look at my video in next week's Moodle block that discusses the personal You're going to read these sentences and decide if you need a personal in front of your direct object or not. So you would write an if needed and an X if not needed. The last section, or not the last section, the next section, you're again conjugating stem changing verbs. So you've got a word bank. You plug the word into the sentence and then you conjugate it correctly, remembering that these are stem changing verbs. So if you're conjugating for a subject pronoun other than nosotros and vosotros, you're going to need to change the spelling of your stem from either an O to a UE, an E to an I, or an E to an IE. Vocabulary again, a group of friends are discussing the activities they do in their free time. Complete each sentence with an appropriate word from the word bank. Be sure to use each word only once. So you'll read through the following sentences and fill in and take the word from the word bank and plug them into the sentence to make the sentence complete. And that is your final. So if you have any questions, hopefully you guys will look at this before coming to class. If there are questions on direct object pronouns and the personal please wait till the end of class so that I can actually go over that material before you ask your question.